How did you get over suicidal thoughts? Serious? I didn't to some extent, I just merely learned how to manage life a little better, but that was it. I realized my dog couldn't live without me. She has extreme separation anxiety and is prescribed Prozac. Also, if I killed myself, she would eat my dead body and no one would want to keep her after that. She has loved me more than any other creature in my life. I think of my previous death and how glorious it was that I wouldn't spoil the soul of the man I was. I didn't get over them, I just stopped focusing on them. Sometimes they still float in, but providing I focus on other areas of improvement, DIY, reading about a new subject, socializing, I can push them away pretty quickly. Exercising really helps me as well. I don't go over the top, just a little cardio. The latter usually encourages the former for me, i.e., the exercise gets me motivated to do the other things. I keep telling myself to just wait another day. You never know what future you might miss out on if you kill yourself. It works even if you have nobody or no family who loves you. Life is short as it is, just tide it through and try to enjoy it. I should be using a throwaway for this, but I flipped a coin for it. On the top of a bridge, late at night. I won the flip, which I am now getting tattooed on the back of my hand to remind me of how much I fear that night coming back one day, and to remind me of how happy I felt the day after I won the coin flip. Couple things. Get help. A therapist and less help tremendously. Some of the best stuff I learned while recovering. Try to pay attention to your string of thoughts that lead you down a suicidal spiral. See what sets everything off. When you're at your lowest, it's hard to turn things around. So the key is to squash it before it gets out of control. So keep looking for patterns in your thoughts, and learn to distract yourself before you lose control. For me, something that worked when I knew I was in for a rough night, I would call a friend who knew what I was going through, and promise them I wouldn't hurt myself that night. I would talk to them beforehand and let them know I might call them like this at some point. That's all that would be said, nothing expected from them other than to hear my promise. I didn't care about me, but I didn't want to break a promise to someone I cared about, so it gave me a reason to stay safe. For depression in general, this silly trick helped a lot. All the negative things that pop into your head aren't your inner voice. Think of them as a bad person. Give them a name. That is your enemy. When you start hearing negative thoughts, tell that person to shut up and go away. It felt silly at first, but I got used to it and it helped a lot in ignoring the bad thoughts. My enemy was named Nick. I was hospitalized twice for suicide attempts. Really only the last one was serious, but my parents had reason enough to put me in the psych ward the first time. This is when I was around 20. It's several years later, and every now and then I still get suicidal thoughts. It's still a battle, but it's much easier to manage now. I went from thinking suicidal thoughts constantly, to a couple times a day, couple times a week, couple times a month. It took about a year for me to get there, but once I started to see improvement, it was easier to fight. Don't give up. Repeated failed attempts. Pretty sure I can't die. I picked up ballroom dance lessons. I had suicidal thoughts about 2 years ago. When I dropped out of university, I was even standing at the very edge of bridge prepared to jump. What stopped me? I looked down, and saw people going throughout the streets, minding their own business. Then it hit me, world will go on with or without me, and by killing myself, the only thing that will change is that I won't be there to experience it. I figured that life was a game. Do you want to try and finish the game or chicken out in the middle, never knowing how it ends? Last time I had these thoughts was 2 years ago, and since then, I am the happiest I have ever been. Don't give up. Time, therapy and medication are the easiest answers. There is also trying to find out what makes life worth living and having more of that in your life, work, love, knowledge, etc. You're going to have some relapses most likely, but it's important to remember that they're temporary and you have people you can turn to when things get bad. If you don't, then get some. It's also important to get out of your comfort zone. Talk to people you might not otherwise talk to, go places you might not otherwise go. That could be as elaborate as moving out of the state or country, or as simple as going to the local game shop and learning to play Magic: The Gathering. Putting yourself out there can really make you realize that the world has more to offer than you might imagine, and more important, people won't mind sharing their thoughts and time with you. I imagined my two little sisters' faces, and how much they would be hurt if I died. Earlier today I thought about texting/snapping them how much I loved them, just in case today was the day, but I see their faces, and if no one loves, I know two girls who are always excited to see me. So I cried my eyes out and took a nap, and now I'm wide awake at 3 AM and don't feel like my life would be easier if it ended. It feels like an everyday battle tbh, but I'm undefeated so far. Writing when you are mostly alone in your room because you don't like talking about them, your mind gets ideas. One day I got an idea for a novel series and sketched out a basic plot. The next day I was writing the draft of chapter 1. Cut to around 3 months later and I'm on chapter 3, and my suicidal thoughts don't really exist anymore. If I die, who is gonna finish this? As soon as I started taking the tablets, those thoughts went away completely. So this is what life is supposed to be like. Weirdly, I thought about my own fatality, and the thought that I would never again get to do certain things kept me going. I realized that if I didn't care about anything, that I had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. 3 things. In the short term, I locked myself in my room and played video games. Telltale in particular saved my life with The Wolf Among Us. In the long term, my girlfriend sobbed uncontrollably when I told her how close I had come, and told me that the idea of going without me was unbearable. I broke down and agreed to seek help, and I was put on Paxil. My thought was, what if, just what if tomorrow is the best day of my life and I would never know? After that I started thinking more positive, looking for one thing in any situation that makes it all worthwhile. I have a simple solution for mine. I slow down any thought processes I have that might be causing a panic attack or anything like that, talk to my best friend about what's going on, and listen to a poem called Instructions for a Bad Day by Shane Koizan. Usually snaps me out of it, or makes it easier to hang on a little bit longer. Ayahuasca. I haven't. Just learned to do my best not to dwell on them. They got strong the other day. Really strong. But I went and played Xbox with some buddies and it got better. Butted up against but didn't quite make it over that final hurdle long enough for the ideation to die down. In short, wait it out. Good luck, friend. I believe in God and by the same token believe in Satan as well. I believe that God had a plan for me and can make me a greater man. However, if I can really be the best man or the man God wants me to be, I can help others. So I like to think that suicidal thoughts are the devil's way of making sure that I do not do well in this life. It is his way of making sure I cannot do good in this world and that I cannot enjoy this beautiful life. In the Book of Mormon 2 Nephi 2:27 it says, "For he, the devil, seeketh that all men might be miserable like unto himself." It also says in verse 25, "Men are that they might have joy." So I dismiss the thoughts as hard as I can. I will sometimes put my fingers to my head and just wish it was a gun instead so I can pull the trigger. But I have trained myself to not do that. I have told myself, you are not even allowed to pretend. I'm not by any means over them, but I have things that keep me going. It would destroy my mom, my siblings, my best friends, to find me dead. There are people who love me, regardless of what my illness says. I've thought about suicide many times in my life, even had a blade ready to plunge into my chest at one point. A scarf tied to my closet bar and wrapped around my neck. It's always been the thought of my mother coming and finding me that's gotten me to stop, the image of my best friend at my funeral crying. And I know people say it gets better, and hopefully one day it will for me. But for now, I'll take what I can get. As for how you can get over your own suicidal thoughts, find out what triggers them, avoid that. When you start to have them, distract yourself. Play a video game. Go for a walk. Read a book. Write, draw, do something, but don't let yourself focus on those thoughts. Push them out as best you can. I hope this helps. You deserve life.